Good evening, everyone. It is 6:30. I'd like to call the August 26th Howell Township Planning Commission meeting to order. I'd like to do a roll call. Williams is absent. Spalding here. Newstead.
Here.
Bowl.
Present.
Francesco's.
Here.
Stanley.
Here.
Lalio.
Here.
We have a quorum present. You can stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is approval of the agenda for the August 26th, 2025 meeting, Planning Commission meeting.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the agenda. However, I would like to make a minor adjustment to it under 12A, if we could switch numbers 1 and 2.
Do I have support for the approval of the agenda with the so noted changes?
Support.
Support, Francesco's. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we'll do that. Next item is approval of the minutes. We'll do the approval of the regular meeting from July 22nd, 2025.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for July 22nd, 2025.
Have a motion? Support, Perry Francesco's. Any discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, those pass. Next set of minutes is for our special meeting of August 12th, 2025.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting, August 12th, 2025.
Okay, we have a motion.
Support, Bull.
We have a motion by Newstead, support by Bull. Any discussion
That's fine.
on there? I had one comment on the, I'm not sure if the wording is correct. On the second page, it's probably 15 lines down on the right-hand side in the bold. After it's September 20th, 2025, or otherwise determined rain date, as long as all light conditions are satisfactory. Is that it?
They listened to the recording, so.
Okay.
I wondered about the same thing.
I
I couldn't remember what was said, so they went by what they heard on the recording when they did the minutes.
Okay. I don't think that was what was said.
Do you remember what was said?
No.
Sounded like to me.
I think all light conditions, yes.
That would make sense.
We were just concerned if it was a rain date, that everything was still met. So I think I would like to change and make that all light conditions are satisfactory. So is everyone in agreement with that?
Yeah, I agree with
Yes.
that. Change
Okay, all in favor of approving signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Call to the public. We do have 2 calls to the public tonight. We just ask that if you're speaking on something that is not on the agenda, to just come up to the microphone or where you're at. It's a small room. Just state your name and address or where you live, and then we usually give you 3 minutes to talk. Nobody wants to talk to us? Okay, we'll see that. We have another one at the end of the meeting. Next item is Zoning Board of Appeals report. And I didn't see anything in the packet, and Wayne, the chairman, is our rep, so hearing none, we'll just skip over that. Number 8 is Township Board Report draft meeting minutes of August 11th, 2025 that are in our packet. Does anybody have any comments or questions to ask of the board members that are up here in regarding those? Hearing none, we'll mark those as received and filed. That was just the top of my pen. Receive and file. Next item, ordinance violation report is in the packet. It usually speaks for itself. Does anybody have any questions of Jonathan?
I do.
Okay.
Jonathan, on the Haslack property, just a quick question. So I see now that they're talking about considering paring down what was proposed.
Right.
But does that impact no sign permit? I mean, isn't there some things that can still be addressed even though you might be paring something down?
Absolutely, but, you know, we were trying to wrap it all up into one site plan and then, you know, deal with the sign might be moving anyway, so dealing with it all in one go.
Okay, that answers my question.
Okay. Any other commission members have?
Mr. Chair, I did, and maybe Jonathan, you could answer some questions. It's on the 5704 Crandall Road. That's the individual that had been living in the backs.
Yep.
And since ADUs were such a hot issue, I see that you issued 2 violations, one to the homeowner and one to the person that was living there. Could you expound on the issues that you've had a little bit? Because I know you've been working on this one for a while.
You mean the issues or why I issued 2 tickets?
Why? Okay, like we'll start with why 2 tickets were issued.
Because if we don't get compliance, then, originally the tickets were issued and they were just filed in court. Normally we do this to get their attention. We weren't getting any traction, so then that's when we issue tickets. Based on what we were hearing from the 2 people involved, we didn't feel the ticket inside the township that we can issue would have been very valuable to us, wasn't going to get us what we needed. So we wanted to issue the tickets in court so that they would have to go pay those. We were hoping that usually that gets people's attention and realizes that we're serious about this. We haven't heard from them since. So the next step would be to issue them tickets. If it's still there, I haven't been by since, but if the violation still exists, it will be to issue another set of tickets into court, but ask for a formal hearing.
Okay. I noticed that, originally there was an agreement that they were gonna move out and things like that, and that changed, and now it's about 8 months now you've been working on it?
Well, in reality, I looked back through the file and Joe had complaints about this too and had similar explanations given that they were gonna be out really shortly, and then, things just didn't happen. So this has been going on for even longer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the violation reports? Okay, seeing none. We have no scheduled public hearings tonight. Other matters to be reviewed by the Planning Commission, legal update information, that's in reference to that court decision that was put in there.
Yeah, it's just to remind us that we need to be this is about ZBA stuff, but it does apply to you guys as well, which is, as a planning commission, make sure that we're following the steps we need to follow. And if you don't, you can get in trouble.
We don't want to get in trouble. No, that's for sure. All right, onto business items, old business. There was a reversal in the agenda. So the first item is the renewable energy ordinance, and we have the changes from the ordinance in our packet, right? So there is we'll need to have some direction on those, correct? Is that what you're, okay. So, and then we also have some highly esteemed guest speakers tonight. Mr. John Mills, who's a local celebrity from Howell, and Mr. Rick Van Gilder, who's a local celebrity from Fowlerville. So hold your applause down. But they were invited to the meeting by Commissioner Bowl to discuss the energy ordinance. As people may or may not know, we are considering an ordinance for Howell Township we're working on the ordinance, and we're gonna be doing some action on it tonight. So I'm not sure what the format was or how you wanted to do it, but
So I know Mr. Mills in particular, and Mr. Van Gilder are prominent landowners in the township. I think both have been approached by solar companies, and they have some experience dealing with them. Since we're crafting an ordinance for solar, I felt it would be wise to listen to their opinions and what they've learned, if they would be willing to share it. So normally in a call to the public, we don't get a chance to interact, and thought this would be an opportunity for us to get a chance to actually ask some questions if we have any, and give them an opportunity to speak if they choose. And I'd like to thank both of them for showing up. And Jonathan, can we move that microphone by chance?
Yep, you can move it, or you can,
Take it off,
comes right out of there.
Okay. Just so you guys can sit there. You don't have to- Does it go down?
It should.
No?
Am I up?
However, you guys have the floor now.
Good evening, everybody. I'm gonna start way out in left field, but just give me a couple of minutes and I'll be right back here to the solar. Everybody kinda hear me? Yes. Okay, good. I get a magazine called The Northern Water. Maybe you all get that one too, I don't know. But in The Northern Water, every month they have a feature in there called Looking Back in Time. And a couple of months ago, the feature in there on Looking Back in Time was regarding the massive white pine forests in the northern part of the Lower Peninsula of Michigan. And it was said that a squirrel could cross from one side of the state to the other and never touch the ground by going through this massive white pine forest. And at that time, certain visionaries said this was just unexhaustible. There's just more lumber there than could ever be cut. It was just endless. Well, it took about one generation, and the white pine forests were gone. So there's a little bit of a lesson there. Now, the second thing I'll speak to just for a second is, once in a while I have the misfortune of being on I-96 at rush hour, and there's 6 lanes, all going 80 miles an hour, and when I'm in that, I think to myself, this scene is being repeated on several expressways around Detroit, several expressways all over Michigan, all over this country, and all over this world. And there are those who say that supply of crude oil is just endless. There's just no end to it. I'm skeptical of that. How many of you here, you're all pretty young, how many of you remember the Arab oil embargo of about 70, where we all sat in line to get 10 gallons of gas at the gas station? We need, as a country, I personally feel strongly that we need to develop alternative energies, be it solar, wind, nuclear, hydroelectric, whatever. We can't leave ourselves in a position of vulnerability when it comes to energy. Another periodical that I get is called the Epic Times. It's a newspaper. Maybe some of you see that one also. But a recent article in the Epic Times said that this country's demand for energy is going to double by 2050, 25 years. And it went on to say that we would need to build 300 Hoover dams to fill that energy gap. The big users there are electric vehicles, which I know one young man probably drove here tonight. Donald Trump is trying to pull a lot of manufacturing back into this country, and manufacturing takes up huge amounts of energy. And the third big user, according to this article, is what's called AI, artificial intelligence. Those machines and the brains that run them take a lot of energy. So I guess my bottom line message to the Planning Commission is you've got an important task here. You've got an important task. And to do nothing is not an option. That would be, and some townships have tried to do that. Just say, well, there's not gonna be any windmills, there's not gonna be any solar in our township. Ultimately, they're not gonna be allowed to do that. They're gonna have to make provisions for it. So, anyway, you've got an important task at hand to deal with solar. So, back to solar. There are three types of solar. There is what is commonly called utility solar, which are huge installations, sometimes covering thousands of acres. And people tell me that if you're flying out to San Diego, California, you can sometimes look down on a clear day and see these huge 1,000-acre solar installations from a jetliner. That's not primarily certainly not what I've been approached about. The middle level is called community solar. And that's the one that all of these firms are talking to me about, and I presume other farmers in the area. Utility solar is less than 50 acres, and it's designed to feed electricity locally, to keep it local. These huge installations are designed to feed power to Los Angeles or big metropolises. The community solars are supposed to, that energy is supposed to stay local. The third solar is the solar guys call it rooftop solar, and the guys that I'm talking to have no interest in that. There must be local contractors who will put rooftop solar in for you. Now, I'm just curious, if a guy wants rooftop solar, is he gonna need to come to the township for a permit and meet some requirements? Maybe that's another question you've got to struggle with. Okay, my wife and I own 7 farms. 4 of them are in Cohasset Township, 2 in Howell Township, and 1 in Osceola. Through the last year, I'm going to say, I've received at least 6, I'm calling them letters of introduction from various solar developers. They must all read the same book or use the same attorneys because they're very, very, very similar. They first of all say, you have land in this area, and they'll usually give you a Sidwell number, so then you have to go to work and find out which property they're really talking about. There's usually some dollar figures in there that are fairly enticing to get your attention, and then usually the last paragraph says, here's an 800 number call. Just as a point of interest, when I was across the table from these solar guys, I said, if you send out 100 of these letters, how many calls do you expect to get? And their answer was, if we get 10 responses from those 100 letters, we think we hit the lottery. And then I said, of those 10 calls of inquiry that you get, how many result in a seance like you and I are having right now? You know, they're sitting across the table from me. Maybe 1, 2 at the most. And then the percentage who actually sign what they call an option agreement is even smaller than that. That's just a point of interest. Of the 6 letters of inquiry that I got, I did in fact call all 6 of them. 4 of them never called me back. So their letter of introduction went in the bottom of the file, and I had business or conversation with the 2 who took the time to respond to me. My question to them over the phone was, please send me a copy of this option agreement. I want to see this contract. I want to read it. And they did send me that option agreement, obviously written by attorneys. You'll damage lots and lots of brain cells trying to read through it. But I did. I persevered and read it in detail, and as a result of reading it in detail, I came up with 28 questions. There were 28 things I didn't understand, or things that didn't smell just right to me, whatever. So then, I'll give you some examples. Various people, when I would talk to them about solar, they would say, oh man, those things are full of this liquid, and if a hunter shoots a hole in them, and that liquid drains down the soil, that soil is going to glow in the dark forever, and you're going to have a toxic waste cleanup. Bull. According to the solar guy, there is no liquid in there. A lot of the myths concrete, and they're starting to wreck these things, and all of a sudden you guys go broke. Is this contractor gonna come back to me and say, you us for concrete? And so I got my answers to that. I asked them about noise, I asked them about additional poles and wires, you know, stuff in the air. Another kind of important thing is, obviously, they're aware that they've gotta come to the local governments to get permits, and they pay all those expenses. I think probably if somebody wants to appear before this planning commission, it's probably $300-400, isn't it?
1,400.
14?
1,400.
Well, everything's going up, I guess. Okay, so, that's on page 14. So, we come to the point where I'm finally sitting down across the table from these solar developer guys. We answer those 28 questions, then we jump in my pickup truck and we visit these 7 farms. And these guys were just foaming at the mouth, yippee skippy on 4 of the 7. One of the things I found interesting is they want a light pole there, and they want 3 wires on that light pole, because that's 3-phase, and apparently that makes their job a whole lot easier if there's 3-phase to the property. Okay. Our next step was, I took this option agreement to my attorney, and I said, your job is to study this thing, and don't let me step in a big pile of crap here. You know, don't let me stick my head in the noose and get into a contract here that I'm gonna regret. And my attorney did review it, and she said to me, I've seen several of these, and this is the best one I've seen. And the concerns that she had, we got the solar guys right on the phone right from her office and resolved them, so we were ready to go forward. So then, okay, so I've read this thing, I've got my answers, the attorney is kind of nodding yes. So then, you might say, well, why should we do this at all? What's our driver for doing this at all? And in the case of my wife and I, I'm 78, she's 77, she had a stroke less than a year ago, and we're envisioning our golden years and anticipating that someday our goal is to stay in our own home. I think almost everybody, as they approach those years, they want to stay in their own home. And so we have some other income streams now, and we felt that with what this solar program is offering, that would put us over the hump, and I would be able to hire 2 Detroit Lions cheerleaders to come in and take care of it. So, in addition to financial security, I guess I'll say, the other thing, and I found that, you guys know Vandenberg Boat, folks? They come to me every fall to borrow a wagon for their employees. We were talking one time, and I said to them, have you got everything just about the way you want it here? I mean, you know, a nice business here, and so on. So everything about the way you want it? And one of the Vandenberg boys said, he said, just about when you think you really got it all figured out, a salesman will come in with a new product line and you say, gosh, maybe we should add that. And his final comment was, it seems like if you're not going forward, you're going backwards. And I can tell you in farming, you always are trying something new. You're always trying to go forward. And in some respects, this represents that type of mentality of going forward. Now, hey, I'll be the first to admit, at the end of the day, this is a business decision. When a farmer buys a piece of property, he doesn't buy it to hunt deer on. Maybe some of them do, we don't, but you're attempting to grow a crop and make some money. These guys are offering easily 10 times what I can make growing a good crop of corn or soybeans. I'm going to inject another thing right here now that I found very interesting is after we had actually signed this agreement, I got a call from a Consumers Energy person, and they had identified a piece of property that we own, it's up in Pahaka, the Harris Farm, and they wanted to talk to me about solar. And it was a lady, but I kept saying, well, what's the money? Give me some. And when I finally pinned her down and said, okay, what are you offering per acre, and what are you offering to sign up? They were at 16% of what the solar developers are offering. They weren't even in the ballpark. Which brings me, and I find a little piece here. Once we sign this option agreement, I'm not skipping something here. Okay, well, the farm we signed up, by the way, is what we call the Cook Farm. It's over on Curdy Road in Osceola Township. It is our least productive farm. It's very, very difficult soil, all clay, a lot of clay. And the other virtue there is there's only one house that can even see it. So it's not like we're putting it across the road from the subdivision and we're going to have a lot of NIMBY going on there. And the other thing is, there are board members in Hull Township who hate my guts and wouldn't approve anything that I came forward with. So I figured I had a better chance in Osceola. That's maybe a little bit of an overstatement. Not much. Okay, so we signed this thing, and then I say to the solar developer, okay, what are the odds here? What are the odds that we're really going to have a solar installation? His word was, you'll love it, depends. Depends. Depends on what? He said it depends on legislation currently in Lansing. Okay, so then, I don't see Mr. Wilson here tonight, but through Bob Wilson, I was able to get in contact with Jason Wolford, who is our state representative, and I like him. He's a good guy. And he and I spent 2.5 hours, and he said, I co-sponsored that legislation. There's two big things there that go on. Number one, it's a classic battle of big energy, consumers and DTE, against these smaller solar developers. DTE and consumers don't want to have to buy power from these small solar developers. They want that all to themselves. Well, at the prices that they were offering me, they ain't gonna get any of it, but that's the position of DTE and consumers. They wish the earth would open up and swallow these small solar outfits. Number two, the solar developers would like a lot of the control for the ordinances and so on to come back to the township. And that's what this ordinance is trying to do. I think probably what's it been within the last 2 years, almost total control for that went to Lansing. And there's a 3-board panel there that, the township, I understand 70 townships got together and petitioned for return of some of that control back to the townships. And that's what the solar developers want. They'd rather deal with you than a 3-board panel in Lansing. I'd like to thank Tim Bull for inviting me here tonight. I'd like to thank Mr. Wilson for getting me in contact with Jason Wolford. And any questions? Okay.
Okay. Can I ask one, John? John? So, your current deal that you have, they have an option and they're doing their exploration to see if they will decide to actually do something, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
This option agreement really should be called a due diligence contract.
Okay.
Because that's what they're doing in this option agreement. They're doing soil borings, and they're gonna have to come into local government to see if they can get permitted, and the state to get permitted, so they've got homework to do, during this option agreement period. Yeah.
Okay. And did you have any other deals in Howell Township that may come to fruition that you can,
Right.
yeah,
No,
okay,
no, you know, even though they wanted me to sign up 4 farms, I said, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna pick one, and like I said, I picked our least productive farm that has the least impact on the community where it's at, and in Osceola Township, where I think they're a little bit more enlightened about this, they're a little ahead of you.
okay. And lastly, this may be an engineering question, but, and since you were at the last meeting, I've been looking at telephone lines and seeing where there's 3 wires and where there's only 2. But can they connect directly to the existing power grid?
Yes.
That's there, if they can get to a pole with 3 wires?
They run underground to the pole that's already there, up the pole, so there's no new poles, no overhead wires. Yes, does that answer your question?
Yes, and I guess I got more questions. My dad used to hate me. When is there any laws so they can create power and put it into the system? Does consumers or Detroit Edison, are they obligated to buy that power, or do they work separate agreements with those utility companies?
That's a good question, and I don't know the answer.
Great
to it.
question.
I'm sorry. I don't know.
Okay,
I hate to assume anything, but I would assume that the big energy companies have to buy that power. I would think, you know, if they're gonna build this whiz-bang facility and spend millions, they gotta know that there's a market for it, that they can sell it to, DTE and consumers.
okay.
But I don't know that for sure.
And last question, or last comment, tonight we're considering, recommending to the Township Board a zoning ordinance with amendments to regulate, alternative energy. So it addresses the wind, it addresses solar, but your point, it also addresses as an accessory structure, if someone wants to put it on their rooftop, we're considering zoning ordinances that regulate that, as well as if somebody wants to put something on the ground next to their house too, and creating a solar overlay district as well.
There's a half a dozen private solars within 2 miles of where we're at here tonight. So they're getting more and more popular.
John, I have a question. So let's just say they put these solar panels on your property, and then they go bankrupt or belly up or whatever. Are they gonna be responsible for coming
Their
and?
contract is extremely explicit on that point.
Okay.
They have to return that property the way it was when they came there.
Okay,
And that's part of this bonding thing. They have to have contracts with financial institutions so that they have the resources to do that.
okay.
But yeah, the contract is extremely explicit there. Yes, they must return it to the way it was when they came there.
Okay.
John, I wanted to focus more on the community solar. You mentioned that one, because when they approached you, it was for parcels under 50 acres?
Excuse me, I can't hear you.
So they approached you for parcels under 50 acres?
Say again?
Parcels under 50 acres? Is that what they approached you for?
No. The one on my property would be 27 acres.
Okay,
It's about a 43-acre parcel. They want to stay away from trees, and there is part of this farm that's wooded. So actually, 27 acres would be about the size of the project on this farm that I've signed up.
okay. So I mean, but that's what they're calling community solar, right? You said it was under 50 acres, so yours happens to be 27, or, did they say how many megawatts that would produce or anything like that? The name, how much energy it would actually produce? Like the
27 acres.
27 acres, but they say how many homes or megawatts it would produce?
And they have a fence all the way around their installation. So their installation is clearly defined, and they're gonna pay you so much per acre per year on what's inside the fence.
He wanted to know how many megawatts it would
I don't know.
Don't know? Okay.
That's probably power flashlight anyway.
I would hope so.
The other thing that's kind of cool is, apparently, if they build one on my property, it's gonna be later technology where the whole panel rotates to follow the sun, which most don't do now. So the technology of these panels is advancing all the time, so.
Okay.
And it wouldn't shock me if someday they would take all the old panels out, maybe put new ones in that are more efficient or something like that, I don't know.
You answered most of my questions in your speaking, so. That's
Are
all.
there any other questions from any of the planning commission members?
Excuse me?
No, I didn't.
Just,
No.
yeah.
Mr. Chair, I think I do have an answer to a couple of your questions.
Oh,
Typically, any utility scale energy production is gonna need a substation, and you will have to have a buyer. They're gonna have to work with MISO, first of all, to get approval to tap into the grid, and then they would need a energy company to be a buyer for
Okay.
what they're producing.
because they are the owners of the distribution system. Okay. Okay. Does anybody in the audience have a question of Mr. Mills?
I can make a remark, I'm an appraiser.
Yes.
I did a golf course in Santiago, on I-94. Energy Solar developer paid $500,000 more for the golf course than it was appraised as a golf course. I did the appraisal about 3 times, and lady that she owned, she was in distress, then she just won the lottery. I was sent there when she got the offer, the bank sent me there to see if there is residual money for them. I said yes. And I did it about 4 years ago, and the golf course wasn't performing, and just in rural area, and just one, I appraised it for like 700, 800,000, and it sold like for about 1.4, 1.3 million. That's increased property value.
Okay, interesting.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I had spoken with Rick also to ask him to come tonight too, because he's had some personal experience with, is my microphone on? Can you hear me okay?
No, it's not.
Yeah, the button's gotta, yeah.
Is it on? Okay, great. Yeah. So I had the opportunity to talk with Rick Van Gilder, and I've asked him to come tonight just to talk to us, because he's actually dealt with, he's signed on the dotted line, so to speak. Am I correct in that, Rick? You've spoken with some of these larger utility companies, and you have some property that I remember you talking to me about, specifically a property in Shiawassee County.
Yeah, that's correct. And we've also we have some signed up for potential solar in Conway Township, just north of Handy Township. So, one of the first things, I guess, if John would have planted, used our fertilizer, he'd have got a better crop. Anyway, if John had a bumper crop of wheat this year, he'd have grossed about $450 or $500 an acre, gross. He still has the inputs. He's still got the expense, the tractors, the machinery, all that. But, with the current price of wheat, if he had 100 bushel wheat, he'd have got $450 an acre. And solar is offering him, what'd he say, $2,700? Doesn't take a real brain surgeon to figure out that, it's a lot better deal. We've got some solar panels at our farm. And I just did a little figuring before I came here. With the solar panels, it would generate roughly $50,000 an acre, probably if it's an acre of solar. And growing an acre of corn, and if we sold it, we had a bumper crop of corn and sold it for ethanol, which a lot of it goes to ethanol. And then you got some for the DDGs, that's what's left over after they take the ethanol out of it. It would probably be close to $2,000 an acre. So when you look at those, if you're if you're harvesting an acre of sun, it might be producing $50,000, produce an acre of crop. If you're, it's probably not good. And that's gross, and you can't, you know, the money that the farmer's gonna get out of that was figured in a retail price for ethanol at 2.75 bushels per acre, or per bushel, 2.75 gallons per bushel of corn. And it just, you know, that would only be like $700 an acre with a bumper crop, 600. So, and the current prices are low, they're in the tank, so probably isn't much if anybody's gonna make any money farming this year. So that, you know, talked about retiring and, you know, wants to slow down. There's been a number of people that have called me that were our age, somewhere in that range, and the community turned down their solar. They wanted to put solar on it, but the townships turned it down, but the townships are pretty much turning everybody down. You know, in the township, if you work with a solar company, they're gonna give you some money, more money than just what the tax revenue is gonna be. You know, they'll sweeten the pot and make it better. They'd rather, I think maybe John said they don't want to work with you, but they'd rather work with you and donate some from what my experience is to the township, and not have to go to the state. And in our case, Ranger Power built this solar farm, a couple thousand acres worth plus, and then sold it to consumers. I think consumers they always got to have so much renewable energy. I think they're obligated to get more, and I don't know what those numbers are, but it's a big deal. Most of this stuff, and you know, we have a relative involved in the solar business, and it's my nephew. Oh, Nancy's here? No, she's not here. But anyway, he's involved with Ranger Power, and you know, they're the ones that sold it to consumers the last time, and they're working with DTE too. You know, they'll probably end up selling it to DTE in the long run, would be my guess. So that's, but those are some numbers that I've got. And I'll hand the bike back to my son Ryan. He might have something more. Here you go, Sonny.
I mean, I don't have a lot. I think for, you know, like my brother and I, we're young, we're 30, we're not planning to retire, right? We can withstand some bad years. Like I work a lot with farmers directly, like with John, his grandson Andy, and I don't know many farmers that are gonna print black ink on the bottom of their P&L this year. I mean, it's just not gonna happen. We're gonna have a fantastic crop, probably one of the best crops we've ever had, and we're still not gonna be profitable. So for us, and like John said, his business decision is if he can have something that's reoccurring, that's much more stable and much more predictable, life's a lot easier to get through. Farmers buy wholesale, they buy retail, they sell wholesale. We don't control the weather, we don't control what Trump tweets. If there's a trade war, if there's a shortage or an abundance of anything, rain, it doesn't matter. We don't control a single thing. The only thing we can do is try and manage a margin that's thin to begin with. And as farmers get really good at growing crops, unfortunately that margin is actually going the other way because we're growing big yields, we're not consuming it all. My dad talked about ethanol. You know, we personally sell, like the U.S. sells probably 50% or uses 50% of our corn into ethanol. It's not a productive use of fuel. I mean, I've heard a lot of people talk about, you know, they need farmers for food, but we really grow mostly fuel. 50% at least goes to ethanol, probably 90% of our personal corn goes to ethanol. You know, we'll sell a few million bushels of grain into the ethanol plants. But it's not super productive really for the taxpayer also, which is a kind of a point that no one really talks about. So the solar thing actually makes a lot more sense than I think a lot of people give it credit for. One other point on I think John mentioned like national security of energy. I think that's probably pretty true. Like I do have an electric truck. I would never buy it. This is my recommendation if you actually need a real truck to like do stuff with.
We talked about that,
I borrow my brother's truck all the time, or my dad's truck all the time. I bought it because it was kind of fun. But a lot of people are driving electric vehicles, and you know, solar is electric, right? Like we put ethanol in our gas truck, and you plug in your car for the solar panel stuff. I think it has a pretty good fit for a farmer because farming is pretty tough, and you can't miss very many times. You can miss once really big, and that's it. So I wasn't planning on talking. I was just trying to snowball off John mostly.
Thanks, Ryan.
But
We appreciate you talking.
Go ahead, John.
You know, one more comment if I may. I bet it's been 10 years ago, Verizon approached us to put a cell tower on one of our properties, which ultimately we did. And dealing with Verizon was frankly a pleasure. They did what they said they were going to do when they said they were going to do it, and everything was straightforward. And I'm finding the same thing with these solar guys. Now, the farm that we've entered this option agreement, when we bought the farm, there's a nice ranch house on there. We sought out 3 acres and sold the house to family friends. And I really wanted to try to take care of them because they're the only ones that are going to be able to see this solar. And so in negotiations with the solar developer, we've got the contract written now so that there will be what they call a vegetative berm, and that vegetative berm will be to the specifications of the people who live there. Their electric bill will be 0. And the third thing we negotiated for them was the company's going to write them a check for $1,000 a year. Just so, and I think that's significant because several years ago I had a lot of dealings with developers, you know, and you know, those guys, you shake their hand, you want to count your fingers when you pull your hand back. And everything was tricky and odd. You built some of the same guys, I think. But yeah, so I have found, the point is I have found these solar guys to be pretty straightforward, and they're getting to be people like the truck, which is kind of a pleasure. Thank you.
Does anybody on the commission have a question for either John or Rick or his sons?
I have one more, Chair.
Yeah.
Both Rick and John, have any of the developers approached you? Because there's this new thing called, I think it's agri-solar or something, where they're talking about having a mixed use on the field where you could farm in between the fields. Have they talked anything to you about that? No?
Not sure, I never have been, I'm not sure.
I mean, it was just,
It's not really- it's not
I think MSU is doing a study on it or something like that. I didn't know if it had gotten anywhere.
I think they've tried to do things like raising sheep and doing other stuff under the panels to try and like plant some type of vegetative growth.
Okay,
or
but
animals
nothing,
to graze.
they haven't said anything to you folks?
No, just like if it's not usable acre, you can still plant it,
Okay,
but not like specific area or 50-50 or anything like that. It was just like if there's a setback requirement by the township or something, we could go in and plant it still and farm it, but.
okay, thank you.
With our solar farm up in Shiawassee County that we're involved in, it's got a setback that probably could, you know, if that's what the requirement is, and that's something you guys will figure out, but, you know, if you're gonna have a solar farm there, there's no use having it set back too far, because you're just wasting some acreage there, is my own personal opinion.
Sure.
But there's,
How many acres is that, Rick? How many acres is that solar farm in Shiawassee? Yeah,
I believe altogether, not all ours, but there's 2,300 acres, I think, involved in that solar farm. It was one of the biggest ones when it was built, and I don't know if it still is.
It was the biggest one east of the Mississippi at the time.
okay. And how long have you been in that arrangement? How,
I think we've been on the collecting end for 5 years.
okay.
I mean, it takes a couple years to get it developed, and, you know, it's a lot of work. You know, the 40-year, they usually go on 20-year, they extend them all out to 40. But, you know, they could bail out sooner, you know, John said, well, they want to bail, leave you hanging with this stuff, you know, but there is the clause in there that they're supposed to, but, you know, who knows, 10 or 15 or 20 years down the road, what happens if they file bankruptcy or, but, you know, you get the land back, and it still should be productive. All they're doing is driving posts down, lots of them, but it's, you know, it's not like they're pouring all that in concrete. It's just posts, so.
So your fields are all augers? They don't use any concrete foundations? No, it's just poles? So they could, I mean, theoretically, they could be pulled right back out, right? Okay.
Damage your drain tile, you know,
Yeah.
but it's gonna have to be redone. It's,
But in theory, though, you could, once they pulled everything out, there'd be minimal damage to the soil, so you could plant again.
we would believe, as far as we know.
Yeah,
I think there could actually be an argument that the soil's better, because it's been untouched, it's been idle for 40 years,
right,
and that's pretty healthy for the ground, really.
yeah.
You know, what we do is.
You guys
we have
rotate,
to work
right, yeah.
to put it back in, so it's just idle, it's probably a good thing,
Yep,
as long as it's done properly.
thank you.
Any other questions from?
No, I just have a comment. It's a sad day to hear about our farmers. I mean, it's sad. And I appreciate you talking about where your corn goes, because there is naturally a concern for us as consumers if our farmers can't make it and they don't plant food, you know, but, I know, thanks for sharing that.
We have people call us regularly that are, you know, on the verge or debating retirement because they just don't want to, it's just hard. It's too long.
Does the public have any questions from any of the Van Gilders or John? Yeah, farming is tough. You guys go out there, if you don't own the land, you give somebody a check, you go out there and literally you're spreading dimes and nickels and pennies with the expectation of coming in there in October and finding that they've turned into quarters or 50-cent pieces. So, and there's a lot of businesses, but all the inputs, you have no control. I know a farmer that planted 40 acres of sunflower seeds and never came for a harvest on there. So,
John knows a thing or two about that.
yeah, he might know the guy that did that. So, if there's no other questions, I want to say I found what you guys had to say very informative. We don't hear that from the planning perspective. So it was great. Thanks for inviting them, and Chuck, thanks. It was very informative for us to hear, the other side of the issue, if you want to call it an issue. So.
Probably in a lot of cases, there is some government money maybe involved, there's definitely some tax incentives, or has been in the past. I really don't know what all those are. We had some, we put some panels in ourselves, but overall for the big utility solar, you know, there's some tax breaks, but it's a big investment, and
Yeah, and I think some of the big beautiful bill took some of those away. If I haven't looked into a lot of it. You know, I know like geothermal, they were given a 30% tax credit for you to put this in. And, you know, I personally, we did that. And what made it feasible was that tax credit. It was a huge incentive to actually do something. So, you know, government can pay to incentivize people to do things. You know, if you have kids, you have a child tax credit. You know, maybe it's not the reason to have kids, but no, it's certainly a lot more than the $2,500 or $2,000 you get every year. But if there's any more questions, then I would just like to say thank you. You guys can. We got a lot of interesting things here tonight, or you can leave if you're smart. So.
if anybody thinks it's really bad, just tell them to turn the breaker off in their house for a couple days. So, you know, that works out.
So, thanks.
Everybody uses it. So.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. So, moving on, we do have the proposed zoning ordinance amendment to regulate renewable energy facilities. We have seen it a number of times in the past. This latest modification, and I'll have Paul speak on it, is location requirements have been added for the renewable energy facilities, and Article 30 has been created to create a energy overlay district. So Paul, can you address that?
Yep, so there's really not much more to say. As you stated, you have seen this a number of times, worked it with a lot of different amendments, and the current change was based on the last direction from the Planning Commission to add those specific locational requirements based on the overlay district, and then create a section for overlay districts that may be expandable in the future if you ever wanted to do additional overlay districts. So that's really more of a structural item than anything else, but by and large, you're looking at the same ordinance that you've seen before.
Okay, and all the changes were redlined in
Correct.
in here, so.
Yep. Primarily the last page or so.
Okay, thanks, Paul. I'd like to bring it back to the Planning Commission for any input from any members or comments or questions.
Mr. Chair, I did have a question with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
On page 5, number 8, when it talks about noise, the way this reads, it should not generate a maximum sound in excess of 55 average hourly decibels as modeled at the nearest outer wall of the nearest structure. Did we speak on that? We tried to change that to the lot line.
The lot line, I think that's what we decided on. We would,
I feel like I was part of that conversation, so.
Was it? I thought it was, actually, I thought it was Grayson.
I think
if you remember, it's even better, but, cause I think we were, cause the 55 is the average, right? So, I mean, it could peak above that.
Yeah.
I mean, and then drop back down, but as long as it was 55, and personally, I think that's a little bit loud being outside the wall of your house. I mean,
55 is really pretty low. I mean, like.
it's like normal conversation.
71 is like a conversational level.
Okay.
So.
wasn't it, didn't Grayson compare it to like a running refrigerator?
Right.
I think that's what he said.
Yeah, so
55 was.
we can make that change,
To the lot
and
line?
if you're prepared to make a motion tonight to recommend approval to the board, you can make it with the condition that we change that to the lot line.
Okay. We're not changing any of the setbacks, we're just changing at what point is the decibel.
The
Okay,
noise is measured.
Property line as opposed to outer wall.
okay,
The outer wall, I believe that language is from the state language in the act, but we're already doing something different than what's in the act, so making that change won't do anything in that regard.
Tim, was that the end of your comments?
I think I just wanted to clarify that this is mostly, this ordinance is for under 50 megawatts nameplate capacity, is that correct?
Excuse me 1 second, I just want to make this note here. So this would apply to anything under the nameplate capacity that would put it into the ability to use PA 233. But as we have recognized, and I think your speaker indicated tonight, the solar developers would rather work locally. And so as long as this ordinance is considered workable by them, it could apply to anything above that nameplate capacity as well, which we are expecting would happen.
Okay. Any other members with any comments or input? I had it looked like a typo on page 16. Last sentence, shall be adopted in the, should be manner, M-A-N-N-E-R,
Yeah.
instead of manor.
Let me catch up with you. What page are you on?
It's page 16, the second to last sentence on the right-hand side, in the manor identified. I think should be manor,
Got it.
right? I don't even know what a manor is.
No, it's a manor, but that's a
Okay.
house, not a manor.
Okay. I had a teacher in high school, that was manor, manor. Okay. Okay, so in consideration, we did have one change. Does anybody have, want to win? We didn't have motions prepared that I saw, did we?
Grayson was the one that used to do them for me.
Okay, okay.
You know what? Grayson did do them, and I forgot to send them along, I believe, so I apologize.
So our next step would be to send this to the township board, if it's acceptable to everybody. With those changes.
I think we're there. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we're,
Yeah, I think, we're there.
Okay. So,
So the motion would be a recommendation to the township board to adopt the proposed language with the change suggested.
okay. I don't think you can make the motion, Paul.
I am not, I'm just suggesting that, I'm just letting you know that that would be the appropriate form.
Mr. Chair, then I will make a motion to recommend to the Township Board approval of the renewable energy ordinance with the change discussed at the August 26, 2025 Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, thank you.
No support.
All right, so we have a motion to recommend the zoning amendments to the renewable energy facilities ordinance changes made by Newstead and supported by Stanley. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So it passes. All right. We are at the next item is for old business. Mark Jewett, PC 2025-09 on property number 470628 100-071. It is vacant land on Hydraulic Drive, and we are presented tonight with final site plan review. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At your May 27th, 2025 meeting, you did approve the preliminary site plan in the special use application with a recommendation to the Township Board, who approved the special land use at their June 9th, 2025 meeting. This is for contractor equipment and material storage yard in the Industrial Flex Zone District. They have addressed primarily all of our comments from preliminary site plan review and the final site plan requirements. One outstanding item we have continued to identify in the site is the requirement from section 12-02-L regarding the requirement to screen outdoor storage. There is no ability for the planning commission to waive that. You know, we discussed with the applicant whether or not they would have to put a berm in or something like that. At a minimum, they should have evergreen trees along that property line. The deciduous trees are gonna lose leaves in the fall, and you're gonna be able to see this from miles around. So we would recommend at a minimum that a row or two, a staggered row of pine trees be placed in this area. Otherwise, we feel like the site plan has taken care of all of the outstanding issues. I'm happy to go into any details, but I assume you guys are pretty familiar with this plan, so I won't dive into those. But if you are prepared to make a motion to approve this plan, I would recommend that you do it with conditions.
All right. Any questions of Paul from any of the commission members? Any discussion amongst ourselves?
Yeah, I just want to talk about the trees too. We had an applicant a couple of weeks ago that we kind of faced the same issue of a deciduous tree versus evergreen. It was on a smaller scale, but we decided to have them replace those, the grasses on the road with evergreen bushes. I feel like this is kind of the same deal on a bigger scale. So I kind of agree that we should probably have changed those trees to evergreen trees instead of, I think they're on here as maple trees. Same issue, they're gonna lose their leaves. You know, we've all talked about the screening from M59. So I think that we should consider having that change made.
I agree.
So my position was the same as the preliminary site plan. It's the issue you're talking about, and unfortunately, it's just the way this lot is positioned, with M59 being elevated like that. Just recently went by there, and right now, with all the leaves on the trees, it's not terrible. But like you said, they're gonna lose their leaves, and I don't see planting trees just the way it's elevated on a berm. I don't, which is why I was a no to begin with, and as much as I would like to see this happen, because I think it's a really need for the township, I just can't. I look at that as a gateway to the township, and that's always gonna be able to be visible from M59, I think, to some degree.
Yeah, so that screening requirement is not a discretionary thing from the planning commission. It's a part of the ordinance. So, you know, ultimately, if you believe that we're not gonna be able to screen this with just a row of pine trees, you might have to, the applicant may have to do other treatments, like putting an elevated berm with trees on top of that. That would inevitably take up some of the space of the property, but, you know, we've been bringing this item up throughout our review and frankly from the initial conversation with the applicant, so.
Is this particular piece of property though, I mean, the problem is.
It's
just the piece of property. I mean, where you can see it from, how are you gonna screen so you can't see what, I mean, it's very difficult, right? I mean, that's what we've kind of talked about. How do we do it?
And then we're getting into, being that it's a contractor storage unit, we're gonna have, you know, varied things there that you can see. We're gonna have, I don't know, we've addressed the storage container issue yet. You know, there's that, they're gonna be there too. It's just, it's unfortunate that it's the position of the property is in, so. So basically, Paul, according to your report, that's not something we can waive.
Correct.
And we can't require the applicant to plant 50-foot trees either.
So, I mean, the trees will grow. Typically, when you're doing a screen wall, there are standards in the ordinance of what that looks like, so they may need some additional space there, so you can do a staggered row. We haven't, I mean, we've all driven down 59 and looked to our right, but without, you know, any modeling, couldn't say for sure that a 10-foot tree or 6-foot tree is gonna screen it, but certainly the trees will grow.
Can we hear from the applicant? And you can raise that mic up, or you can get down on your knees if, I'd recommend the form of the form.
Good evening. Again, I'd like to thank you all for your efforts on behalf of your community. I appreciate your time. I thought we had covered this extensively at the previous 3 meetings. I know the planner keeps bringing it up, but on our preliminary site plan approval, it was approved with the maple trees. And I thought we had pretty sound reasoning for that. I don't really think that a 2-foot berm is gonna change the perspective now or 50 years from now. If you want me to change the maple trees to evergreen trees, we'd be happy to do that. We just thought that the maple trees would be bigger, faster, wider, taller than the evergreen trees will be. I'm a landscape architect. I've been doing that for 50 years. That's just my opinion. I'm happy to abide by your opinion. We want to do something that we want to be proud of and that the community can be proud of. This land has been zoned for heavy industrial for 30 years, 40 years. You knew somebody was going to build something there. A heavy industrial piece of property. It could be a contractor's yard. No problem. You wouldn't have to do anything extraordinary to hide that, because that's the zoning that you put there. That's why we chose that piece of property, because it was zoned that way. On Paul's recommendation a year ago, we changed the zoning to more suit our use. So we've been trying to do whatever we needed to do to get this thing approved, and to do so, something that would be beneficial to the community and obviously to ourselves. We're not doing this for charity, we're doing this for our own well-being and that of my kids. So, you want to change those maple trees to evergreen trees? That's fine. My personal view on that is it's pretty hard to grow an evergreen these days, and they keep it alive. So there's so many new funguses and diseases that get out of these things. And you look at them, you just see them dying all over the place. You see them losing their lower limbs. You see evergreen trees in distress everywhere. I think a maple tree is a pretty solid, standard thing that doesn't really have a bunch of problems. But if you want to change them to evergreens, it's not a problem.
Okay, any,
The other thing that has come up in the past is you've looked at our facility at Rock Road. This is not like the one in Commerce Township. This is like the one that we just built in Milford. It's different. It's different than what we have at Rock Road. What we have at Rock Road, primarily, it's the people that, we have 6 different buildings there. And it's the people that are in the buildings that have yards that are literally the messiest ones. Most of the other spaces are semi-trucks, RVs, and small contractors that come and go. That's the issues, I think, there at Rock Road are the people that are in the buildings that are working there, because they can. Whereas this facility, nobody works there. It's just really a glorified parking lot. It's neat, it's orderly, we put screening all the way around it. The guy next door has nothing. To the east of me has nothing, not one thing. And he has a horrible looking place with dirt and trees and branches and grinding materials and screening machinery. The guy to the west of me has some trees at the street, and no other side of his property has screened his outside storage. So I'm a little bit surprised that we're still talking about our screening, where we have screening on 3 sides of it. We're trying to keep all the trees that are on the south property line that is lines with M59, that are huge, mature trees. I don't know what else we can do.
plus you're proposing.
I really don't feel that a 2-foot berm and evergreens is gonna change anything, but if you want evergreens,
you're showing plantings on the south side. Yeah.
280 bushes or whatever on the south side, which are just, that's something. And then all up the east side, and then we added them across the north side as well. Just because we thought, well, okay, we like trees. I'm in the tree business, so I'm happy to put them there. But I mean, at some point, you can only do so much, and we've been offering to do whatever we've been asked to do. Want to put a fire hydrant in there? Okay, we'll do that.
Well, what size evergreen tree would they have to put in?
6 foot, isn't it?
Is it a 6 foot?
6 foot. Yeah, there's a section in the ordinance that talks about what goes in there, evergreen screening. It's at least 6 feet wide ground width, within 5 years of planting, minimum width of 15 feet.
And Mr. Jewett, how many feet, you're proposing Crimson King maples on the east, or is it?
That's the
East side.
east property line.
What's the spacing that's proposed on here between those trees?
15-foot wide space, right, per the ordinance, it's 15-foot wide space. We could get a little bit of a berm in there, because we'd like to keep the topsoil, add some more topsoil to it, and then plant the maple trees. But they start out at 12, 14 feet.
The 2.5-inch caliber trees?
Yeah, it's gonna be a 12, 14 foot thing.
So just to be clear, I really like the whole concept, but for the screening, so again, a couple of weeks ago, we had an applicant with a screening issue, and we had them change it to an evergreen, because that will eventually provide year-round screening instead of just in the summer. So that's the reasoning for the evergreen versus deciduous tree.
Right.
Just,
Well, we did discuss this for quite some time at the
oh,
previous.
I understand, but I just want to apply the same standards to everyone that comes in here. So if we had the last person change it, then that's my opinion, that we should have, again, the option for year-round screening.
You know, I drove by there the other day on M59, and now that the trees along M59 on that embankment are getting so big, you really, it's getting to where you almost can't see in there. Now, it's different in the winter, but even a deciduous tree, when there's so many of them, they provide a distraction. They provide a screen. It's not as sure as that, but when you take an evergreen this was the conversation we had before, an evergreen's like this,
Yeah.
where a maple tree is like that, right? So
Oh, I mean,
Completely
trees
understand.
like this, like that,
Yeah.
this, like that.
that's correct.
Right,
And the whole,
but,
the
but,
bulk
but,
of
but,
what
but
you're
an
gonna
evergreen is like this. Paul, am I, this is an ordinance, correct? Is that what you're saying
The
as far as?
screening requirement is the ordinance, yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this, when I looked at this, I thought screening was gonna be a fence, like with a screen, but it's chain link, so we gave on that. But as far as evergreens, I think that is a fair thing, a fair expectation for the evergreens. So I'm sorry that you might be upset about this.
I am
But,
not upset.
It seems like you are upset, but to me, this is where we live, and you know what, I don't care what's going on, unfortunately, I don't know what's going on the other side over there, but just because somebody else may not have a good yard, does not mean that we should be allowing another person to have a yard like that. So, I am for the evergreens 100%.
Well, to be clear, doesn't really matter to me which type of tree.
Okay,
it is.
well,
I
you
only
act like it's
suggest-
bothering you, so,
I'm a little bit dismayed that we're still talking about this after we've already approved it the other way. I would have changed the plan. I could have, and we can change it right now. I have no problem putting in the evergreens. None whatsoever.
Okay.
If that's what you think is gonna be better, I happen to disagree with that, having 50 years' experience in the landscape industry. But if you want that, no problem. Make it
Just
evergreens.
a point, Sharon, there is a fence around this whole thing, even,
Right, Rob, that's not what I was saying,
Okay,
though.
okay.
There's certain yards, when they say a screen fence, there's fabric or stuff woven into it, so you cannot see in there. Okay, so we gave on the screen fence, which I thought was to say it's a chain link. I got the letter that I saw, you clarified that. But whatever we can do to screen that facility, I think we should do that. And to me, whether it's, I don't have any problem with evergreens at all at this point.
okay. Other input, it appears the applicant is willing to make the change.
Yeah, well, Paul said it's an ordinance.
Well, we need screening.
Right,
I think
screening.
it's just defining
Yeah,
what that screening is gonna be.
yeah.
You know, we all know that site is, you know, it's lower than roads. People are gonna probably see it, even if you had 100-foot trees there, they'd probably see some of it, or maybe not, but,
They need to be 60 or 70 feet tall.
yeah.
Do any good.
And probably when none of us in this room are around, those trees, whether they're the Crimson King maples or the pine trees, will probably be 30, 40, 60 feet tall. So, that being said, anybody else have any input?
Does anybody have any questions for me?
Or,
Was there a clarification on the amount of storage? I think you had
Yeah,
a
we can
disagreement
talk about.
with the planners.
The shipping containers, the math
Shipping
was wrong
containers?
that they had done.
Was that addressed?
I think so.
I believe so, yes.
and
Okay.
there is no limit on the number of shipping containers.
Yeah, well, there's gonna be.
And
I think it was, I think I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
15, does that sound right?
It's 18, I think, is what it is.
18?
It's 3,000 square feet, so it really depends on if we have 20-foot or 40-foot containers. So
Sure.
If they're 20-footers, you could have, I think it was 18, is what I recall.
was there something I saw that had unlimited number of them? Or was I,
That is the change that's being proposed right now to the zoning or to the accessory structure ordinance.
okay,
So that's not in effect currently.
okay. But it would be, and it would be for industrial flex zoning.
I believe so. I think the change that you requested. No, I don't have it in front of me, sorry.
Storage was stricken from that.
Right, so
Okay.
what he's proposing is not affected by this.
Okay, and the limit is the 3,000, okay, and you seem to be okay with that?
The rules are the rules. We're okay to play by the rules.
So that was the other concern that you had?
We still haven't gotten past my concern. It's just, we can plant as many trees as we want. We're not gonna screen it. It's just, and unfortunately, that's the truth. I mean, we're not gonna screen it from M59, at least not in our lifetimes.
Okay. What is the flavor of the commission?
Recommend it with the tree changes? I feel okay with recommending it with the change in the trees, so.
Okay.
So at this point, this is a final site plan. Planning Commission has the final authority to approve. So an appropriate motion would be to approve the site plan with any condition that you propose.
Thank you, Paul.
Paul, I have a question, though. So we had talked about storage containers having to be painted. I know we have another, I know that's lower on the, but what we did not talk about was a specific time frame when it comes to when those should be painted? Like 30 days, 60 days? How is, we never talked about a specific time frame when a storage container is brought on, as far as when it needs to be painted to
think it
look
would-
uniform?
I think it's in the storage container ordinance.
Yeah,
Is there a timeframe?
I
Did I
was-
miss
Not a
that?
time frame. It just says they have to be all the similar color.
Right, but I could, but,
Four or more, was she at four?
Yeah.
yeah,
But when
I-
it comes on site, it needs to be that color, not painted.
no, no,
you know.
I know, but, okay, so I bring one on, unless you're telling me specifically, I might say, hey, I'm gonna get around to it, but you know what I'm saying, there's not a time frame for when one is placed on the site that has to be painted.
Based on the language, it would be illegal to bring it on site and not have it painted.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, that's
Yes.
clarification, thank you.
Isn't there a permit process for getting a shipping container?
Yeah,
onto
but
the
this is
property?
something special that we had talked about having it to be painted, so I wasn't sure whether that's, I just wanna make sure, Paul, because people can buy them and then just drop them down on their property, they're not painted, they're just as they bought a storage container. But if that's what the rule is, that if you place one on, it has to be pre-painted, that's what my question is.
Yeah, so I mean, I think they would have to go through a zoning compliance process and they would have to abide by the rule.
Okay. Go ahead. What was I saying? Oh. Lead away.
I'm just gonna keep looking.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep looking at you guys.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to recommend approval for Mark Jewett, PC 2025-09, 4706-28-100-071, vacant hydraulic drive, final site plan review with the changes discussed at the August 26th Planning Commission meeting to include changing the maple trees to evergreen trees.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion for final site plan review by Commissioner Newstead and in support with Commissioner Lelio. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to bring
Oh.
this up now, but there is also an engineering report that doesn't have any requirements, but they do list all of the outside agency approvals that are necessary.
Thank you, Paul.
Can I amend my motion to include all findings included in the engineer's report dated August 19th, 2025?
Okay. Ms. Lelio, are you accepting?
I'll support
Okay.
that.
All right, so we have a motion and a support, and that motion has been amended by the mover of the motion. So any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor of that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
gotta post.
Oh, we have 5 ayes and 1 no. Noted, Commissioner Bowe, sorry.
Thank you very much.
So, last old business item is portable storage container and cargo container ordinance. Paul, would you like to give us the background on that?
Yep, I'd be happy to. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in response to community feedback and discussion by the Planning Commission, we did make some changes from the last iteration that you saw. And one of those is what we just discussed, where there would be no limitation on the number of shipping containers in the industrial district or the industrial flex district for shipping containers that are being used for shipping and storage. So not a permanent on-site storage, but something that's coming and going from the site. Clarification's been added to exclude cargo containers from residential accessory buildings in section 14.07, and then anything under 200 square feet would be required to be located in a rear or side yard. So we added those clarifications based on your previous direction.
Okay. I know we've spent a lot of time on this. Any questions that any of the commission members have of Paul with this ordinance?
Is this required to go to the township board, the amendment?
Yes. Yeah, so I believe you held a subsequent public hearing on this,
Yes.
and then you would be making a recommendation to the
If I
township.
recall right, our last meeting, it was just a minor grammatical changes that we.
It was just some minor changes.
And I think we got,
And you have those noted in red
Yes.
on here.
Yeah, it was on the sheds.
Yep.
small subdivisions, or small backyards.
So you don't have to have it in the center of your yard. Right.
So I think I did see 20 acres or above, there's, the limit is subject to maximum lot coverage on page 6, right?
Yes.
Okay. But Mr. Jewett's property is under 19 acres, so that's where the 3,000 comes in. Okay. Any more discussion from anyone?
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to recommend to the Township Board the proposed zoning ordinance amendments for the portable storage containers per the planner's report dated August 20th, 2025.
I'll
Support.
Okay. So we have a motion by Commissioner Bowles for recommending the portable storage container and cargo container ordinance to the Township Board, and that has been supported by Commissioner Francescos. Any discussion or further comments? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nobody? All right, so it passes. Thanks. We've done a lot of work on that, and I
It's
think.
been exhaustive.
I think-
We've put a lot of time in that, a lot of time in that.
But, you know,
We did it.
I think everyone up here cares about this community and wants things right. And if it takes a couple of meetings to do it, or 3 or 4, then so be it. New business. We have new business. Item 1, I'm gonna butcher this, Grahab, Real Estate Holdings, Planning Commission number 2025-12 on property 4706-21-100-50. It's, the address is 2820 North Burkhart Road, and tonight we are considering the preliminary site plan review for this project. Paul, would you like to tell us about this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a multifamily project in a multifamily zoning district, as you noted, on Burkhart Road. It is south of the intersection of Warner and Burkhart. They're proposing 26 two-bedroom units. This is indicated as a senior site, but it is not intended to be a senior facility. It's not a regulated facility in that way. It's just marketed towards seniors. We did ask for some clarification in that regard in terms of the narrative from the applicant, but they have indicated that to be true. It is a permitted use. The site is approximately 6 acres. This is the essentially phase 2 of a project that came in probably 15, thank you. Yes, I was going to say 10 years ago, but that seemed too long, but I guess we've been doing this for a while, yeah. So there is existing open space on the site that was part of phase 1 that they are maintaining as the open space for this property. There's some, I think you're still indicating them as proposed walking paths. So those do need to be developed yet. There's a considerable amount of existing vegetation on the site, some of which is counting towards the landscaping per the calculations that the applicant has provided. I believe they have met the landscaping requirements. They're meeting all their um, height, density, and setback regulations, providing 2 parking spaces for each unit. They did provide floor plans and elevations. As I mentioned, these are all 2-bedroom units. The site access and circulation is relatively simple. We don't see any issues with that. As I noted, they are preserving the stand of woodlands in the back as their open space. Photometric plan indicates that light levels at property lines are acceptable. Planned lighting includes pole-mounted lights along this side of the main streets. No signage is being proposed. Individual residents would be responsible for their refuse disposal. I believe that they would have a third-party company come in and do rollaway bins like you would in a typical single-family development. So ultimately, the only thing that we're asking for is a cost estimate for the landscaping, which is a requirement of the zoning ordinance, and we do ask for that narrative to confirm that there will not be any services provided on site. Additionally, there was an engineering review that had a couple of minor outstanding items that they identified, some of which I think are talking about some of the density requirements, but I believe that those are covered in our report. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, and the applicant is here.
Okay. Any commission members have questions of Paul?
So the engineers, Mr. Chair, can I address Paul? Paul, in the engineer's report, it stated that the plans should be.
That we have forwarded on to the applicant. They just want to, essentially, they're going to look at it and make sure everything's okay, but yeah.
The engineer did ask for the relocation of some trees for utility purposes, but I think that can certainly be addressed on the final site plan, as well as some light pole conflicts.
Any questions from anyone else here?
You gonna hear from the applicant?
Yep, we're going to open it up. If the applicant would like to address us, please come forward.
Certainly. Scott Bell with Lapham Associates. I represent the developer. Been here before, a couple times. 10 years ago. Wow, it's been a long time.
You're from
still
West
here,
Branch.
too,
You're still here, yeah.
Well, fortunately, I should say. I do want to address a couple of items. As mentioned in Paul's report, we did put together an applicant. I'm very late in getting it. Should have it in your packet or it was here on today. A very simple narrative. These are the rental apartments basically for seniors. So it's not a state regulated facility. It'll be independent living. They'll be on their own. The landowner, the developer will be responsible for maintenance and all those things, and it's included in their rent. There are some proposed amenities. There's a gazebo that's being proposed, so there's a place for gathering. There are 28 units that are proposed here, so folks might have family over, want to barbecue or have a birthday party. They'll have a small area where we can have a pavilion where they can have a picnic outdoors. A small maintenance garage, we also have that proposed, and that's going to be kind of an overall for the whole facility. Maintenance will be shared between the assisted living next door and that, but it provides them with some additional storage and room for some equipment, wheelbarrows, lawnmowers, shovels, things of that nature. So as just a rundown of the site, we do have one thing that I think Paul said there was 28, there are 2 bedrooms, but we do have 2 buildings that have 2 three-bedroom apartments in there. So we do have a little bit of a variety. We added a few larger ones just because. All provided by access through a circle drive off the existing entrance that we already have. Continuation of utilities, the water main will be extended towards the back and loop back around to tie in to provide an additional fire hydrant in the middle of our development, as well as water service to all the facilities. The sewer line is already run back to the back of the property for the most part, so we'll just be tying in with leads. The engineer did make a comment, and I just received this today from the township. Apparently there was some mix-up on the engineer's review in their email to reply back to, but they did mention a couple of things in here that I do want to mention and talk about. The one in particular is, I forgot what I was talking about now. I looked at that. Well, I'll go into their review anyhow. The moving a light pole, moving the trees, if they're on top of lines, that'll have to be moved around, no big deal. The proposed nature trail, they did want us to take that off there, but I think that was kind of originally 10 years ago. We didn't know if we'd ever build it. The nature trail really doesn't serve a purpose for the assisted living. Those folks already have a hard enough time mobilizing and moving around, but at this point, it might be something that Woods would then get that trail built with the independent living. There'll be a little bit more active people around there. So I'll leave that to your discretion. If you want us to get rid of it, we don't have to build it, but we may build it anyhow. But I don't think it hurts to have it on the plan for purposes of that. The 90 foot, that was the other thing, the sewer leads, we do have to add some cleanouts. Every 90 feet on a service lead, you have to have a cleanout. That was in the engineer's report. That's what I wanted to refer back to. That wasn't in their final comments, but it was in the body of it. The rest of those things, yes, we did talk to the drain commissioner. I spoke to Ken last week, I believe, when I got the email from him. We have been working on the construction plans. We've been several months trying to get through into the planning commission, so we've got most of our engineering done on that project. So we do have a larger stormwater basin. We do have to expand it. Obviously, we have more impervious area now. We do have to, our forebay has to be made a little larger too, so we'll have to move that back, but that design has been done. It will have to get submitted and reviewed by the drain commissioner yet. The drain commissioner, their main concern, and I'm just gonna bring it up, I'm not sure that it's relevant to your decision in our site plan in and of itself. There are neighbors half a mile over on the road to the north.
Crandall?
Yeah.
Warner.
Warner, yeah, Crandall runs to the north. At that corner is where the problem is. There's a ditch that crosses there, and groundwater is high. We can't control the water. If it falls from the sky, it's gonna go into the ground. And unfortunately, the goal of stormwater detention is to hold that water back and make it go into the ground rather than letting it flow down a channel real quick and get out of the area. I don't know that there's anything that can be done from our perspective that's gonna alleviate problems with high groundwater in the basements they have in areas where they probably shouldn't have had a basement in the first place. But that is the drain commissioner's main concern right now is if we meet the ordinance, we meet the ordinance, but downstream people are gonna have concerns with high groundwater, which the more we detain the water, the more it goes into the ground quicker, and the more it goes into channels and flows away, the quicker the water is gone. And that's the only solution for them, is to get rid of the water quicker. And unfortunately, that's not, that doesn't comply with the state of Michigan's rules, nor the drain commissioner's rules. On that note, we have no problem moving the light poles, moving a few trees here and there, a few feet to get them off of water leads. I do believe the rest of the comments that the engineer had, like the 10 feet between building, that's something that, I don't know if you caught that the first time, Paul, but in my second set of plans, I did put some dimensions between those buildings on there. So it is on the revised plans. That's been addressed. I don't think Spicer got the second set of plans because they didn't respond to the first set, so I don't think they've seen that revised set of plans. But for the most part, their comments are submit engineering plans and we'll do a thorough review as they always do. Any questions?
Mr. Vogt? Looking at the engineer's report, planner's report, what you know of the Drain Commission, because we've seen nothing of it, and the fire, which we've not seen nothing of. Do you have any issues with anything that's in there?
No, all of the comments, everything that I've seen is, standard, and I don't see.
Okay, but I mean, you can work with whatever's in
We
there.
can work with everything that's
If
on
it's a
there.
conditional approval upon them, you don't have any outstanding issues with anything in there?
No, and.
You
I would-
hesitated.
No, well, I hesitate, I only hesitate because you cut me off with, before we finish the conversation, I would like to ask that if there's any possible way, because we have waited for a couple months to get comment, we still haven't got comments till today from the engineer, if we can take this and do an administrative approval for, I know we're at a preliminary approval here, but if we can meet these things, do we have to come back and have a planning commission meeting? And that's maybe more of a Paul question. I'm not sure how the ordinance is written. Can we get a final approval with a conditioned upon the plans coming back with the minor corrections and the landscaping estimate? I didn't get you that either, but.
So I wouldn't be comfortable with that without the engineer's final review, so.
And that typically, we have not done that.
Okay.
I also had another question when I was, because I visited the site. There's a sign there about a gas line. Is there an easement of any sort? I don't know if it's what kind of. It's between your facility that's there now and is there like a gas line that runs over to the other? I don't even know what it's just a sign that says natural gas line.
Gas line behind the dumpster, there is a sign.
There's no easements for any gas lines.
There isn't, so.
We're not aware of any. We've done all the surveys on the property.
Do we know why the sign would be there? I don't know.
Our gas line or?
Is it yours?
There is a gas line, and maybe they do have a major gas line that comes in on the north side.
But
of the
there's
building.
no easements that are known.
But there's no easements for gas through that property.
Just in possibly in the road right of way. There's gas on down.
There's
Burkhart
gas on the road, on Burkhart.
Yeah,
Road,
are you thinking?
No, this is pretty far onto the property.
Okay.
So I
I
would
was
think
out
it's,
there today, where were you talking about?
so if you go on the north, like the north driveway, and then you look at the property, like when you were pointing in, I saw it like to the left and up.
I guess I didn't.
It's just
I
a,
didn't-
it's just a little,
I didn't notice
one of
it.
their little yellow. Yeah, it's just a little yellow one. It could be,
Okay.
it could be a private line. That's why I was asking.
Excuse me, we have an alta title that we develop for us. We have an alta title that
Okay.
must disclose all the easement as an owner and the bank.
Sure.
is
I was just inquiring about any easements that they may be there.
I cannot
Okay.
tell you as an owner if there is one or not.
So is this the last phase of this project?
No, there is another part of it that we had proposed behind the assisted living on the back piece.
Okay.
I don't think there's ever been a finalized what that's even gonna be. It was kinda left open to begin with. It would be something that favors.
When we purchased the land from the township and we rezoned it, we submit to the township 1, 2, 3, and 4 phases. The phase 1 is 20 unit, phase 2, another 20 unit to comply. We wanted to move ahead, but however, the COVID held us back for at least 2, 3 years.
Sure.
And now we wanted to build the phase 3, another 40-unit assisted living. However, the market right now, it changed a little bit, the health condition. So we look around, we discuss with our finance, the bank, and they would like to see. I look in the demographic, the demographic in the township, you have good increase of the population. And I look in the age demographic, and the people move into between 55 to 65 are increasing if you look in Suncock. So I really look at drastically. That's why we came to Howard Township.
Sure.
From the
I really like the senior housing aspect of that. So my other question concerning that.
So this is phase 3. This is gonna be phase 4, is gonna be the other 40 unit. And the future, the rear parcel, it's about net, I think about 3.5 acre when we take out the wetland, and I'm not exactly, he knows probably more. We divided the 20 acre for
Okay.
three parcels.
So there are additional phases that may or may not take place after this one. Okay. Well, I hope you do. Hopefully you do.
The 3-bedroom.
So,
You know why the 3-bedroom? For me and my wife, if we ever need to move from Norway to here.
so is there, you say senior, is there an age limit? Is there any documents that's gonna say this stays senior? Could it turn into a youth home next year or 2 years from now? Or is there,
We are thinking about it. I need to discuss it with my attorney and civil rights and make sure that we are not breaking the civil rights, but we would like to see at least one person, 55 and up, move there. And we noticed that when with our operation present, the people come in, I would like to have a room. I'm capable, I'm independent. But my wife, I would like to take care of her. Getting 2 person to the assisted living, we're talking about 9,000,
sure.
9,500. Here they can move in for 2,500 plus utility, and if they need a la carte, any clean up, we're gonna maintain all the property, but any other housekeeper, we're gonna make sure that they can get it through us or through other parties, that they don't have to be tied to us.
Okay.
So we think the community need that. If you look in the age, I'm good in demographic. I take some care and really do cash flow analysis.
Sure.
And the township fit that demographic if you look at what.
Thank you.
That covered everything I had.
Okay. And did you say that there could be services offered in addition to just providing housing?
If they want to, not necessary, it's not at that, that's up to the individual. If they call us, they need housekeeping, they can go and get housekeeping. From us or for somebody else, like I have a housekeeper coming every 2 weeks, I pay her like everybody else. They don't have no obligation to deal with us. The only thing they have to, we're gonna have a small bylaw to follow the regulation and the cleanup and the regulation of the 28 days.
Okay. Paul, one of the recommendations you had was that they're not involving services or operations similar to what they have the special land use for their existing.
Correct, we just want clarification that that's the case.
Okay, is what the applicant's saying?
Yes,
Okay.
it's acceptable.
Okay, and I do know, I live down Crandall Road. I probably have some footage on my phone of Warner and Crandall there when the water was going across the road. It's not necessarily a problem of the applicant, and I'm sure what Mr. Recker suggests is within the law and what you need to do. There is concerns over water there that are probably beyond you. Does anything come from the back of the site for the sanitary or water, or is everything from Burkhart Road?
Everything is from Burkhart Road.
Okay.
The
Okay.
services are tapped on from Burkhart Road and brought into our property.
Okay. The facility's always beautiful. It's well-maintained. You guys do a good job. Hopefully it's 30 years before my kids put me in there. But it always looks very nice and well-maintained. Okay. He looks like he's the bright one in the
He looks tired, he wants to go home.
We own our operator 6 days a week. He's my son, and he have more than full-time job. we have a 5-star review in Google. We have good review, good feedback from the community. We intend to be more involved with the community and look after the senior citizen of the community. And I did that because my mother had Alzheimer, my father had Alzheimer, everybody, and we have passion for it, to be honest with you. We have a passion for it. And we want to continue to treat those well-deserved senior citizens the best in their, toward the end of their life.
Good, thank you. Any other questions from anyone on the commission?
Mr. Chair, before somebody makes a motion, could I just make one comment?
Yes.
It appears that on the building elevation for the maintenance building, it shows a dumpster enclosure. So,
Yes, the fenced-in dumpster attached.
so that's got to meet the requirements of the ordinance for dumpster enclosures. So just look at that for the final and make sure it shows up on the site plan because it's not quite there.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Paul. All right,
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve PC 2025-12, parcel number 4706-21-100-050, a preliminary site plan contingent on the planner's report, the engineers contingent on meeting the requirements of the planning report, the engineer's report, the drain commissioner's report, and the fire authority. Does that cover the dumpster with the planner's report? Okay.
okay, we have a motion?
Support?
We have a motion by Commissioner Bowl and a support by Commissioner Newstead. Any discussion? Hearing none, and this is in support of the preliminary site plan?
Yes.
Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that clears, thank you.
Thank you.
Next new business is Guided Mission Investments, Planning Commission 2025-17 on parcel 4706-28-100-012. The address is 1800 North Burkhart Road, and the request is a temporary use at the existing facility. Paul, would you like to talk about this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a request for a temporary use. I think you've seen this in past years. It is for a haunted house and a Christmas event located at 1800 North Burkhart. The proposal includes a couple of tents that would extend the building to make the facility longer, and one tent that would be like an administrative use. We did recommend that they put up a barricade at one end to direct traffic away from any pedestrian activity. The proposal is to go from September 26th to January 5th. The haunted house being September 26th to November 1st, and the Christmas event would be from December 4th through December 23rd, and then some cleanup time. We did suggest that we should defer to any fire marshal comments. I don't know if there have been any, or maybe the applicant has worked with the fire marshal on building safety. Any signs would require a separate permit. If they're going to propose any, that should go through the zoning administrator. And then with all temporary uses, there are a couple of standards in section 14.25. First of which is whether it would pose any public health impacts. We don't see that. And then secondly, if the planning commission should place a time limit on it. If you find that the time limit that the applicant has proposed, then just work that into your motion if you see fit to approve this proposal. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Do we want to have the applicant speak, or do you guys want to ask questions?
We can have the applicant.
Okay. Are you Mr. Combs? Would you like to address us with any comment?
Well, everything that you recommended, the barrier, just like last year, we had the barrier up. We have, parking and pedestrian traffic. We have security that monitors that and also directs traffic. Everything went really well last year, so, we didn't have any issues with the fire marshal, whatever they recommend or ask us to do, we do. So,
Okay. Any questions or comments from the commission?
Just to the applicant, this is, how many years have you done this? I remember this from last year, so.
this is gonna be our 4th year.
4th year, so you, does it usually flow pretty smooth? I mean, is it a busy event for you? Is it?
Yes, for the customer, yes, but not for me. It's a production, it's like running a play.
Right.
There's a lot of actors and getting things organized, it's crazy, but it's fun, it's a lot of fun.
Okay. But you don't have any overflow parking or people lined out on the road or anything like that, so. Okay, well. All right, that was my only concern.
Okay. Thanks. Seeing, Mr. Stanley?
What's that?
Did you have a comment?
Not at the moment.
Okay, sorry.
Those 4 years.
Oh, one more question, Mr. Chair, if I could. The recommendations for the planner's report, you don't have any issues with anything that's mentioned in there?
No, they're the same as last year.
Okay. All right.
We'll just do it like we did last year, so the barrier, everything that it's the same, almost the same, exactly.
Okay.
We could entertain a motion if someone is so inclined.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve guided mission investments PC 2025-17, parcel number 4706-28-100-012, subject to the conditions listed in the planner's report dated August 2nd, 2025. Any amendments?
And we need to say it expires on January 5th.
We need to add an
2026.
expiration of January 5th? Is that what the correct date is?
2026.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll support that. Or
you
Sharon.
No, go ahead, check.
No,
this. I
Sharon.
think you- I think you-
That's fine.
We have a motion
Sharon-
by
Sharon's
Bull and with a support by Lalio. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, it passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is item 3, Wrangler's Saloon, request for extension of approved site plan. There was a letter from the applicant letter to Jonathan from the applicant, explaining what they have been doing on the site and a request for a 1-year extension. Is the applicant here tonight?
I'm representing I'm representing Russ for the other item, but
Okay.
I can also address questions for regulars too. Patrick Clary.
Patrick, you've been very patient tonight.
Yeah. It's probably the longest you've waited for an extension, right?
But at least it's for 2.
Yeah, 2.
So, is there anything you'd like to offer? This correspondence was pretty direct and clear.
Yeah, it should be pretty comprehensive, but if you had any questions on it, I can try to address them on either one, regulars or.
Okay,
the
well,
next
we're
one, but,
doing Wranglers right now. Does any comments or questions from any commission member?
So I understand the difficulties you faced and why you need the extension, but it's still, just because the community wants to know, are you still expected to start maybe this year?
That's my understanding, yes, they'd like to, they want to demo the building, obviously, quite a bit. So that would probably be the first, at least the first activity, occurring this fall, and then they want to progress after the construction, so that, yeah, they've been, this is kind of, I think, well, there's been some twists and turns, obviously. They've also been, I think, somewhat concentrating on some of the other restaurants that they've had as well. And then now this is kind of back to the top of the pile, so.
Okay.
But there has been, as it's alluded there, there's been some, even in my opinion, some strange twists and turns on this, so.
Well, it seems like they've had some issues and they've dealt with them, and it seems like they're coming around the final corner here.
Yes.
The building looks not really great, so I'm gonna be happy when it's taken down. I will say, and I drive by it a lot, I commend you for, it looks halfway decent. They've been doing a great job keeping the lawn mowed, and, you know, there's some trucks in the parking lot periodically, but, you know, I want to thank you guys for keeping the grounds, you know, manicured and mowed and everything. It's good. There's a little bit of graffiti on one side of the building, but other than that, I'll be happy when it comes down. But,
Me too. I drive by it almost every day.
Yeah.
Pretty much every day,
So,
yeah.
Is today the day?
yeah, so. Okay, any other comments? We do want to know what kind of tractor they're gonna put in their thing. What make of
Green or
tractor?
red?
Is it gonna be a green
Green or red?
tractor or a red tractor? You had some farmers here earlier.
I think it's gonna be a John Deere, but
Okay,
That would fit.
That would, yeah. Green and
Hudson's
yellow.
right down the street, so it'll work.
so, okay, sorry for the
Unless it's red.
distraction. Yeah. Okay,
I'm partial to Fordsons, but John Deere's okay too. I have no input on it.
so,
I've got a Massey, so. It's just a little one.
all right. So we have a motion in order?
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the request for extension of the approved site plan previously passed for Wrangler's Saloon. Do we need to put is it just
Is it 1 year?
1 year extension.
a 1-year extension?
A 1-year extension, okay?
Support?
Mr. Francesco supports this. We have a motion to extend the Wrangler Saloon site plan, approved site plan for 1 year. It has been moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, passes. Thanks. We'll move on to the last item on the agenda for business, new business. It's also a site plan approval for the Soapy Bucket, request for extension of approved site plan. This is the car wash that was proposed at the corner of Oak Grove and 59. Paul, anything you want to add to the applicant's letter?
No, the standards since the plan was approved have not changed, so we wouldn't have any new or additional comments.
Okay. Questions of the applicant, or would the applicant like to say anything?
I guess one thing I would probably add that I don't think is in the letter that Russ was concentrating on is the one off of the other end of Grand River, by the Secretary of State's office there. He was having, that has new equipment equipment, the latest technology of car wash equipment, and he was having some, issues that he was thinking would be maybe impacting this other facility architecturally, in terms of like the length of the bays and things of that sort. That's kind of come back full circle, but he didn't want to, he was having, wanting to hold back a little bit on proceeding with some of that, as well until they got that figured out. And I think that had the ramifications for some of the bidding and the costs and things that's also mentioned in the letter. So that was just another aspect of the whole thing. But for right now, at least that's the latest I've been told, that kind of, he got it figured out.
Okay. Any questions up here? All right, seeing none?
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to recommend the extension, a one-year extension of the approved site plan for the Soapy Bucket.
I'll support.
All right, we have a motion by Newstead and a support by Stanley for a one-year renewal of the approved site plan for Soapy Bucket. Do we have any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? All right, it passes. Last is our call to the public. Thanks for enduring us for 2 hours. Does anybody in the public have anything to say? Did everyone meet, is it Bryce?
Brady.
Brady, sorry. Did everyone meet Brady? Paul, do you want to?
Yeah, this is Brady Heath. He's one of our planners at Carlisle Wortman, and he's going to be helping us out. As many of you may know, Grayson has taken another position, and so.
I didn't know that. Okay.
I didn't know that.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, sounds good. Nice meeting you.
Good. All right. Any?
Chair?
Yes.
I before we do adjournment, I have one thing I would like to add.
Yes.
If I could, and I'm gonna give a plug out to Genoa Township. On September 10th at 6:30, they are holding a Planning and Zoning for Everyone workshop, which is gonna be on YouTube. They are asking that it's their residents that can go to the actual location to watch it, but anyone can watch it on YouTube.
And what is it again, Tim?
It's called Planning and Zoning for Everyone. And I think what they're trying to cover, and if you go to their website, it'll give you some more information, but what it's trying to cover is for residents to understand or try to understand some of the rules of zoning and why we have to make some of the decisions that we make and ask the questions that we ask.
What was the date again?
Pardon me?
Was it date?
September 10th
Tim.
at 6:30.
Is it going to be live on YouTube?
So it's gonna be live, I'm sure it'll be recorded, and you
Okay.
could watch it another time. I'm assuming it'll be recorded, and you
Okay.
can watch it. I just thought we'd get that out because it's gonna be before our next meeting,
Like a
so.
good idea.
Okay.
That's
I-
on the Genoa website?
Yes.
Okay. Is there like a link to it, or? Is there
That I
any-
didn't check.
Okay, okay. Okay,
Probably could get information on it though on their website.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
it was on, that's where I,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been
That's-
posted, they've been
that's-
posted it
they
on
don't
their,
want
on their
people
township
if you're
page.
not from Genoa
Right,
Township.
so if they want people to attend, if you're gonna be, then you need to register. So, I mean, obviously, we're not residents, so we're not gonna go. but
Okay.
I'm just putting it out there because it is a YouTube feed that anybody can watch.
Good.
It might be educational.
Then it's good to know.
One more thing.
Yes.
Are we going to excuse Wayne's absence like we did for?
I would
Matt.
I would
Is
like
that-
that, yeah,
Is that something that? Sure.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah.
okay.
Thanks for bringing that
So,
up.
we have a motion by Newstead to, excuse Chairman Williams' absence today.
I'll
Support. Or Sharon.
Lolio will support it.
Let Sharon do it.
For it.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Great. I think we just have one more thing to do.
And congratulate you for running a great
This is
meeting.
my second meeting.
Yeah, well
You-
done.
you-
And
you-
I was
well,
telling
very-
somebody-
Very well
Well done.
done.
I wanted to pound this thing for, so, you know, can you be, Brady, can you be on the line so I can just whack this thing and say, no. Okay, I'll, accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Newstead, do we have support
Support.
for Justice? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good job, thank you, let's go home.
Thank you.